What's up? It's Soup here, and welcome to my commentary guide for Mythic Sylvanas Phase 1. I haven't killed Sylvanas as of this video, but Phase 1 felt pretty awkward until I got a feel for it, so I wanted to go ahead and share how I play it. I also want to mention that I'm still working on my video format, so I'm looking forward to hearing feedback in the comments about the commentary style raid guide. Alright, I think that's enough for an intro. Let's get into it. On pull, it's pretty important to start with a clear casting proc because there's barely enough time to prep for the second Magi without some luck, as you'll see. I precast Rune, then Lust, and build 18 stacks. I used to use Presence of Mind for the first arcane power to dodge swirlies, but I tested just standing in the Withering Fire, and it doesn't seem to do much damage through Prismatic Barrier. After casting the 2-charge barrage, I use Presence of Mind to build 4 charges and 18 stacks quickly, then spam Arcane Blast as much as I can to fish for clear casting procs until the first chains go out. The goal is to try and pool at least 2 clear casting procs before chains spawn. Once the chains spawn, I cast Barrage, Orb, Barrage, then dump my clear casting procs into the boss while I move towards the lock gate so I can bait the first Veil at square. The reason the clear casting procs are important is because once you take the gate, you're probably going to be out of range of everything, so building stacks quickly before taking the gate is very beneficial. After taking the gate, I evocate. I was fine on mana and didn't need to on this pull because I was lucky with clear casting procs, but this is usually where I evocate. I wait for Sylvanas to port for Veil, then use Alter Time and blink out. Then I finish getting as many stacks as I can if needed before snapping back with Alter as soon as the Veil finishes casting. Sometimes bad RNG means you won't have 18 stacks for the mini burn. It happens. At this point, I snap back and immediately begin the mini ramp. The time until you have to move for Withering Fire is pretty tight, so it's really important that you snap back with Alter as soon as Veil is finished casting. I start moving away from the boss as I cast Orb because I try to get as far away from the boss as possible before Withering Fire starts to spawn. Now I start pooling 4 charges and 18 stacks for the second chain spawn. I use File to clear the bleed stacks before the second chain spawn to avoid having to get chained so I can prep for the next arcane power use. It's also a good idea to pool clear casting procs if possible before the chains spawn. Similar to the first chains, I cast Barrage or Barrage, then begin to build stacks. Once Veil is baited, I run out of Veil and hold blink for getting back to the boss. I blink back in and drop Ring of Frost before I finish building stacks. And I completely ignore these shades now because their health got nerfed and my raid doesn't need any help killing them, so I go ahead and use Arcane Power on the boss. We baited the second Veil to a weird spot, so instead of using the second lock gate, I walk over to Diamond and begin to build stacks. After Veil is baited, I usually blink out and immediately use Presence of Mind to quickly build 4 arcane charges and 18 stacks, but we were pretty far ahead on boss damage on this pull, so I don't bother finishing the stacks. I precast Rune, then Barrage Orb, and hold the 4 charges from the Orb for the shades. At this point, I would build up to 18 stacks, but we were holding boss damage. I got targeted by Wailing Arrow, so I precast Ring of Frost before using Alter, then blinking right before the arrow goes off. I snap back, then look for the biggest cluster of shades to cast Barrage or Barrage, and since I wasn't fixated, I can run in and cast Arcane Explosion. The goal at this point is to get the boss to 84.1%, then wait for Veil 4 before pushing the intermission, but we were about 2 seconds ahead on our push. Ideally, you want to go into the intermission with 4 charges and 18 stacks, but that all depends on if you're able to hit the boss. I moved to orange and ice block for the raid damage from the chains going out. Once the pulsing raid damage finishes, I cancel block and blink away from my chain towards a group of chains on the edge since my raid nukes the chains in the middle. After the chains are killed, all that's left in the intermission is to build the 18 stacks and prep for phase 2 while dodging Rive and Swirlies. One important thing to note is you can use Slow Fall to proc Unholy stacks and prep for phase 2 as well. So while you watch me build the 18 stacks and spam Slow Fall, I want to take the opportunity to thank you for watching. and a special thanks to those that like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video or you learned something and you think others could benefit as well, the absolute best way that you can support this channel for free and get this video in front of other people is to like and subscribe. Also, please feel free to let me know what you think about the commentary style raid guide in the comments. I'm continuing to make adjustments to my video format to minimize editing time so I can put out more videos faster, so your feedback is very helpful. Thank you again for making it this far in the video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.